so my last video was by far my most disliked video of all time, with a lot of controversy in the comments about me saying that the country's name was Czechia. But I also got a lot of comments and suggestions on YouTube and elsewhere, so hopefully this video is much better. Same roadmap, let's get started. First, we study the Finnish government structure. There's a legislative branch consisting of the parliament and the executive branch consisting of the president and the government or the cabinet. The parliament is unicameral and has a total of 200 seats. It is usually up for election every 4 years. Now moving on to the president, who's elected for 6-year terms and has a limited amount of legislative power, that is a veto, and a pocket veto, which is basically just not signing a bill for 3 months, effectively vetoing it. Any veto can be overridden by a simple majority of the parliament, however, so this is not very powerful. Apart from this, our president also appoints many people, has considerable military power as the commander-in-chief of the Finnish military. Although they still need parliamentary approval for war, the president also has the power to pardon and leads foreign policy along with the cabinet. The president also makes the cabinet, where first the president nominates a prime minister to the parliament, and then if the parliament confirms the person nominated by the president, they become prime minister. As the head of the cabinet, the prime minister submits other cabinet positions and the president nominates accordingly. Okay, now let's move on to the election systems of Finland. First, we start with the parliament, where there are 13 electoral districts, where number of representatives is mostly proportional to population. Proportional representation is used, which means that on the ballot, you choose a person belonging to a party, and then for the most part, the percentage of votes a party gets is the percentage of seats it gets in parliament. The interesting thing here is that, unlike other countries that use proportional representation, there is no minimum percentage of the popular vote a party needs to be represented in parliament. That's especially good for small parties. So you can see here in this sample election from 2015 that the popular vote matches the seat distribution in parliament very well and doesn't have the effect of eliminating smaller parties that other proportional systems often do. Now let's move on to the president, who was elected by a 2-round popular vote. Let's go directly into a sample from 2012. In the first round, there's a multitude of candidates, and since no one earned more than a 50%, there's a second round where one candidate does win more than 50% and wins the presidency. Now let's move on to the occasion, which is a presidential election. The first round being in late January and the second round being in early February if necessary. Now let's move on to party time, where these parties are represented. We start with the Center Party, which is the leader of the governing coalition with 49 seats in parliament. They're a political party with many factions, and they're nominating a person for president who's in 4th place in the polls. They generally support decentralization, but everything else, including Euroscepticism and taxation, have factions. They're an old party founded in 1906 as the Agrarian League, and their strongest base is in rural communities. Next is the second largest party, the Finns Party, which is part of the governing coalition as well. It's a right-leaning party whose presidential candidate is 3rd in the polls. They're actually quite left-leaning in their economic policies, however, as they support welfare and taxation on the rich. They generally oppose LGBT equality and same-sex marriage. They also oppose excessive immigration and multiculturalism, stressing Finnish nationalism. They want Finland to exit the EU and do not want Finland to enter NATO. This party gained big in the 2011 elections, going from just 5 seats to 39 seats, making them one of the major parties in Finland. Next, the leading party of the opposition, the Social Democratic Party, which has 35 seats in parliament. They're a center-left party, and their nominee for president is in 5th place and has a low chance of winning. They usually support welfare, oppose NATO membership, favor labor unions, and oppose foreign workers. This party was formed in 1899 and was very powerful in the mid-1910s, and is the only party to ever have an absolute majority in parliament, meaning that they had more than 50% of the seats in parliament just for themselves. Their base is among older people. Next, we visit the National Coalition Party, which has 37 seats in parliament, is a center-right party, and is part of the governing coalition. The incumbent president was from this party and has its support. Socially, this party is quite left-leaning. They generally favor LGBT equality and other forms of social equality as well. They oppose higher taxes on businesses and support entrepreneurialism. They also support the EU and want Finland to be a member of NATO. They formed in 1918 and have drifted towards the center ever since. Their main support is in urban areas. And last, we talk about the Green League, a center-left party which only has 15 seats in parliament. Their nominee is placing 2nd in the polls, and they support the EU, LGBT equality, and universal basic income. Now let's move on to some recent politics. In 2015, there was an election in parliament where the left-leaning Social Democratic Party and the right-leaning National Coalition lost 8 and 7 seats respectively. The center gained big with an increase of 14 seats. The right-wing nationalist Finns Party mostly remained the same, losing only 1 seat. This resulted in a center-right coalition from the 3 largest parties, the Center Party, the Finns Party, and the National Coalition. The opposition is left-leaning, consisting of the Social Democratic Party, the Green League, the Left Alliance, and others. The president, originally from the right-leaning National Coalition, has ideas that are very similar to the party's manifesto, with the notable exception of friendly relations and trade with Russia. He is really popular, enjoying an 80% approval rating. Seriously, that's a very popular president. He also has a very comfortable lead in the opinion polls for the upcoming election. The other two candidates who I guess have a chance to win are these. There's one from the Green League who is openly gay and represents the party manifesto very well, and the one from the Finns party who follows the party manifesto and is a supporter of Fixit, which is the Finland exit from the European Union. Interesting fact, she is also a denier of evolution. But these candidates are not very likely to win, because even if we assume that the incumbent president doesn't get 50% of the vote in the first round, which is really unlikely, still, in the hypothetical matchups between the incumbent and the challengers are not doing very well. So now let's move on to the really easy prediction. The incumbent will win without the need of a runoff. Thank you very much for watching, and be sure to comment and suggest. As you might have noticed, this video was quite different from the other ones, and that was all because of comments, so please leave yours. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want more of these videos.